Well, good evening. My name is Mark Dunham. I'm the chair of the board of the College of Western Idaho.
Mark, we can't hear you out of the mic.
Can you hear me now? All right. All right. So I'm the chair of the board of the College of Western Idaho. We had a long board meeting today, so but it was a good one. I want to make sure that you have all the handouts in the back of the room. Oh, there's Emily. Come on in, Emily. Hey.
Hi.
So tonight, we're going to do a short PowerPoint about the college, what we've been doing so far, and then we're going to open up to questions. We would like to get feedback, what we've been doing, and any other questions that you would want to ask. It's a listening tour. We have 8 sessions. Tonight is the first one, so you guys are kind of the guinea pigs. I just want you to know we have one tonight. We have one tomorrow night in Nampa at the building, the College of Western Idaho Administration, not the administration building, the academic building. On Thursday, we have one in Parma. On the 23rd, we have one in Middleton. On the 24th, we have one in Caldwell. On the 25th, we have one in Eagle. In Meridian, we have one on the 31st. And the last one is Kuna on June 1st. Who's going to advance that?
Zach's got the button.
Okay. When we say that it's an elected board, it really is an elected board. All of us have run for election. I've been elected 3 times. I'm the chair. Emily Walton is the vice chair. Stan Bastion has been on the board for 8 years. Emily, you've been on the board for 2.5 years. I'm an original board member. We do have Guy Hurlbut, who left the board last January, or no, November. But thank you for coming. Mary Nyland is an original board member. She's from Nampa. She was she was going to come today, but the weather was too bad for her. And Skip Smizer, who is our newest board member, he's from Parma, and he also decided not to drive during this weather. So we are elected at large. There was a piece of legislation that said that we're all elected by zones. So I represent Zone 5. Your zone?
Eagle. I think it's 3.
Okay. I think 4. Okay. Despite the zone issue, we represent the 2 counties. So, when I go to Parma, I am representing Parma. So, the fact that we're elected at large has been it's been a good thing for us to represent the 2 counties. Okay. We want to give you just an update, before CWI was founded in 2007. This was the higher education in Idaho. We had Boise State, CSI, and Twin Falls in Jerome County. ITech, and just so you know, ITech is Eastern Idaho Technical College. There is a vote today. Polls close at 8, and we don't know if there's going to be a Eastern Idaho Community College or not. We'll find out tonight. Idaho State University, Lewis and Clark, North Idaho College from Coeur d'Alene standpoint, and University of Idaho. There was a campaign in 2007 to start a College of Western Idaho. And the 2 counties bonded together and started the college. And it was May May 22nd of '07. Our first classes started, and we had 1,200 students in '09. Our first graduation class, we did that on the lawn. I don't know if anybody remembers that. That was a great event. We had lots of, I'm sure you do. We had, that was a lot of fun. Kids were playing football, and so we took over a whole bunch of programs from Boise State, and we had about 17,000 students. Just some good things that we're proud of is in 11 we had the first of 5 national debate championships, and at that point in 11 we had 18,000 students. In 12, because of the generosity of the Albertsons Foundation and the Micron company, we opened the Micron Center. That was the old Sam's Club. And at that point, we had 21,000 students. In 13, we expanded a whole bunch of our articulation agreements with Boise State, ISU, Lewis and Clark, and U of I. At that point, we had 23,000 students. And other board members, if you want to chime in. Okay. Go great.
There's a place I'd like to get up.
Okay. On this slide, I just want people to understand that we have these lease spaces, mainly in Ada County, but also in Canyon County. A lot of people don't realize that we started to have programs in Ada County in '09. That's something that I have tried to explain to people over and over, but for some reason, people still don't understand that we have 8,000 students going in Ada County. In 15, we redesigned our math and English remediation, and that was a huge effort to help our students. At that point, oh, go ahead.
I'd like to
Go ahead.
speak to that just a little bit, and I'll stand up. One of the concerns we have, and it has become our central theme, is that we want our students to be successful as students, and the college to be successful as well, but our success is measured by student success. And it's not the fact that we are growing rapidly, it's the fact that we want to retain the students and get them to go to the next level. And eventually those who are transfer students to go on to a four-year university, those who are technical students to get a job, other students, whatever they're pursuing, we want them to be successful in those pursuits. And so the fact that we redesigned English and math is our attempt to make it more successful for students to actually finish the fundamental courses. English we made into English 101 plus, and so we took the students and we put them in a regular English class, and we had 2 extra meetings during the week for the plus part. That went from 39% success of students to what was the last one? 89.9% of students are now successful in that class. We're doing the same thing with math, and we're still experimenting with math, but we are finding greater success as we drill down and find out what is effective for our instructors and for our students in English and in math, but particularly those two. Go ahead.
Accreditation. In higher ed, if if you're in industry, you probably don't really understand what a big deal it is to get accreditation. It was almost like an 8-year process. We were, because of CSI, Twin Falls, and Jerome, they were our host college. So we had to go through a whole bunch of hoops. That's an understatement, right, Craig? And finally, we got our own accreditation. What that really means is now we can do other programs that we couldn't do before because we were connected with CSI. Not that that was bad, but now we can do more innovative things that the board and the staff and the faculty have always wanted to do. Okay. So we just got a letter that we did get our accreditation. So, does anybody want to say anything?
You have to understand that this was a massive faculty, staff, administration board. It was a massive process that took 8 years for us to accomplish. So it was a major achievement to get through. And now that we're on our own, we really have opportunities to expand and explore in our own programming and our own coursework, which is significant to us.
It was very interesting because CSI was the host college, and we were bigger than CSI. And so there were lots of dynamics. They were great partners. Okay. Our annual enrollment. If you go back to 12, you can just see the how our enrollment has changed. And Stan, did you want to speak on
Sure. On these two items right here, you can see in 12 we were 1,400, 13, 1,500, and then it started to dwindle. And the question is, well, why would that go down? And in technical education, if you can get a job, you'll take the job. If you have a high rate of unemployment, you're going to go to school to get more training. And so in downturns, we find that the number goes up. In prosperous years, it goes down for those areas. If you look over here in academic affairs, we had gone up, and now we're kind of going down a little bit. And the reason that we're going down a little bit is true throughout the state of Idaho and throughout the nation, in fact. College enrollment is going down. In prosperous times, again, people often think, well, I'll just go out and get a job, and I won't go to college. The next thing over is your dual credit. Notice that that has skyrocketed. And that's part of the reason why these numbers have gone down. Anyone know what dual credit is out there? Dual credit is when you're in high school and you want to take a college course in high school from CWI. You can do that. And many students are in fact taking the courses in a very planned effort. And many of our students graduate from CWI and from high school at the same time. And that's amazing, saving the family lots of money. And the question is, well, do four-year institutions like that? And they do, because the students come more prepared to the four-year educational situation.
Hey, Stan.
Yeah.
The dual credit, we graduated Saturday night, and I believe we had 10 students did the line, not walked the line, but graduated. And on Monday, I was talking to a parent. He was a salesman, or he is a salesman, and he said something like, "I saw you at graduation," and I said, "Yeah, I was there," and he said, "My son graduated." I said, "Oh, where's he from?" And he said, "From Middleton," and he's from Middleton High, and so they're very proud and very happy about that experience. So,
yeah, and a lot of the dual credit students don't go to the graduation ceremony. They go to their high school ceremony, and they're recognized there as well. So Meridian High School and the other high schools around here have significant numbers of students who graduate but don't participate with us at the CWI graduation. Then in workforce development, we have a steady rise, a little decline up there at the top, but what workforce development is if you have a company and you want to hire people who are well-trained, you're looking out there for that support in the community. And what we do is we work with business and industry so that we offer courses that will allow those students to learn the skills and the workforce habits that they'll need in order to get a job. And so it's very effective. We have a lot of students who are doing that. And then finally, basic skills. Those are the students who don't quite have it in math and English to go directly into college level courses in English and math. And that's why we find it very important that we change the way we deliver English and math. And those students are doing much better and getting out, and basically they're getting their degrees, getting their certificates, and they're being able to be employed or go on to school. And so that gives us the total there. Right now we're 24,265. What is Boise State? 27?
Yeah, we're the largest institution in the state at this point. You know, with workforce development, when I started, that very first day, we talked to a whole bunch of business leaders, and they said, "Thank you for starting CWI," because workforce development was key for their industries. And I think we have another slide where we have a whole bunch of partnerships. That's something that we're very proud of, is our partnerships with business and industry. Okay, go ahead. We put this slide in just to make sure that people understand that, again, it's a two-county taxing district. When we say that we have 80 county campuses, basically we have a whole bunch of leased buildings, Maple Grove and Overland. And again, we've had programs in Ada County since '09. And I'm going to keep saying that over and over, that this isn't new. This shows our enrollment from Canyon County and Ada County. We also have online. There's some out of state and out of district. Does anybody have a question about that? Okay. All right. I think I'm going to turn this over to you.
You go ahead, and then I'm happy to jump in. Take it.
Okay. Degrees and certificates, you can see that in basic technical education, that has grown. In the area of intermediate technical education, that has grown advanced technical, and then associate of applied science. And these are all of the CTE courses, career and technical education. And we are focused upon providing courses that will allow students to be trained and to get the particular certificates or the degree they need in order to go to work. And then we go to Associate of Science students, and our nursing program and some of the other programs are in that Associate of Science area. And the Associate of Arts are really our transfer students. Students are saying, I want to go to a community college because I can spend less money there, it's less expensive than going to a four-year college, and I can get the same kind of education, the basic education I need to go into a four-year institution. Next slide.
Question?
Yeah.
Of the, like this year, the 15, on previous slide, the 1,500 that got the Associate of Arts, do you have any tracking? How many actually did go to a four-year institution out of that group?
I can't answer that, but maybe Mark or Bert could.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Good question, John. It's difficult to track. And we won't know many of the numbers until this fall, until they actually enroll, because we've got that summer gap where they've just graduated. We know where their intentions are. We know many have applied and been accepted. For example, U of I, Boise State, Idaho State, and a lot of state. It's incredible within higher ed as an industry. I gotta think how to put this nicely so that Bill talks nicely about me. If we're blunt, higher ed is a nationwide industry. We don't do a great job of tracking students once they leave us. It is, well, they're done. We're trying to get better at that. One of the things that the state's doing to help us is the state has a statewide longitudinal data system where each student has a unique identifying number to them. It's student number 8675309, right? Appreciate those of you who got the 80s music.
A great song, man.
Thank you. So, student Tommy Two Tones went to CWI, got his 2-year degree in English. He's now transferring to Idaho State University to pursue a 4-year degree in English and a teaching certificate. We are now getting better data, but for years we haven't been very good at it. Good question, though. Thanks, John.
Just a personal experience. I went in to get my haircut the other day, and a lady was talking to me, and we got talking about education and her education. She says that she was a student at BSU in accounting, and I said, "Oh, that's really great. And how did you learn to cut hair?" And she said, "Well, I did that in the community college." She said, "But also, while I was at the community college, I was interested really in accounting." And she got her associate's degree at CWI, and now she's on at BSU, and she's still in the barber shop, or whatever you call it now, doing haircuts. Students change their lives. It's amazing when they get the education and training, their lives change. And she will go on and be a professional, and I'll be an accountant in a major business, something like that. New transfer degrees launching in fall 2017. Now that we have our accreditation, the college is ours. And we don't have to just offer CSI courses. We can redesign the courses and offer whatever we think the students need. And our staff, on a report today to the Board of Trustees, have worked really hard, and they have redone all of the courses and made them much better and more specific to our communities. We also have fully online degree programs. One of our campuses is called the, what do we call it? The virtual campus. And we don't have a Nampa campus and a Boise campus, or Ada County and Canyon County. We don't have just those two. We also have the virtual campus. And we have a lot of students involved in the virtual campus. New general education certificate is now available. That's a basic certificate that qualifies you to go to a 4-year institution, and you have all the fundamental courses you need in that 4-year institution. Or you can step out for a while. Sometimes that happens to our students. They go for a while, they get married, get a job, all sorts of things happen, and then they go back. And that provides them that foundation they need in the meantime. We're increasing our CTE cohorts, meaning that the professional technical programs, career and technical education programs are increasing as well, and we're looking at industry to provide us with what they need so that we can offer that and that we can supply them with workers in that particular industry.
I don't mean to get off subject, but this may go back to the trend data that this gentleman asked about. You mentioned that when they leave the 2-year program and then they go on to a 4-year, and I mean, I get it that they've got all their basics underneath their belt, and that's a huge help. Do you have any sort of data as to how long they're in that 4-year university? Because that's really the sticker right there, because it's get in and get out as fast as you can with as little debt as possible. We all listen to the news, we know about it. So I was just wondering if you have that information by chance.
Maybe Marcus.
Yeah, no, from the 4-year perspective, we really don't. Now, we know what time to completion is with our 4-year university partners or with Lewis Clark State College here in state. And average time to completion for those who start and finish is 6 years. And that's kind of the cohort measure. Now, When our students come in, whether they took 2, 3, or 4 years to get through our side of the program, or maybe they just came for a year, got their GE certificate, so they have their core,
Right.
They have their math, their English, their science. They don't have the deeper and electives of a discipline, so they don't have all of the biology 200. When they move on, we don't really have that data on the other side.
So that being said, if you were to graduate from CWI and say you wanted to go to University of Montana, which is the greatest university in the entire world, so we're all clear on that, how much of that are they going to recognize? Because that's the other issue that we run into.
So, very good point. Trustee Dunham brought up about full accreditation. So we are accredited by the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities, the same accreditation that the University of Montana has in Missoula, Montana, at the north end of the beautiful Bitterroot Valley, which is my home. So yes, fully transferable.
Okay, great.
That's the sticking point, is that there's all kinds of colleges out there, and we see all kinds of advertisement for them late at night when we can't sleep, right? What's the difference between that college and this one, or the University of Idaho, or the U of M? More than location and programs, it's accreditation, and it's licensure for us. And it's completely inverse of what logic says, because the private for-profit colleges that we see advertised on late night TV have a national accreditation. And by logic, you think, well, that's really good, right? You're nationally certified. That's the best you can get. Regional is much more rigorous and aggressive to get, and it's a harder accreditation to get, and so that's what's fully transferable. The national is not. So, yeah.
If I might just add the other element to what you're asking, I think the question you're asking, they can leave CWI and go to the University of Montana, and you said, why don't they graduate in 2 years? It depends on the program they go to.
Sure, of course.
And our 2 years will fully transfer, but if they go into engineering or something like that, it may be 2.5 or 3 years before they actually compete the university program.
And so in that 3-year offset of the University of Montana, obviously there's a price to be gained by going to CWI first. What we always saw is that people from out of state would try and come and they'd be like, we're not giving you any of this. So that's good to know.
And then the last point down here, working towards stackable credits, meaning if you're in technology, for example, and you take certain, you pass certain exams, and information technology, and I don't know what the certificates are, but there's a kind of an entry level one and then a higher level, etc. And once they get enough in the stackable credits, they can go out and get a job. Okay, next slide. Okay, in economic partners, we have 35 technical advisory committees. Those are business and industry that we work with, that they are our partners. And they say, this is what we need in terms of the skills and knowledge of our students or our workers. And so we say, okay, tell us what knowledge and skills we need to prepare our students for so they can go to work for you. And that's a great partnership that we have, and we have 35 of those committees.
I also want people to understand that those PAC committees, they are very engaged. They ask very blunt questions, and we've made changes because of that. So it's just not going to a meeting. We actually have a very focused dialogue with our business and industry partners.
And we're flexible. We will change. If they say this is the way industry is going, okay, we'll change, and we have changed. Workforce development, 34 programs, 8,104 students. What's really interesting is we have a high student satisfaction rate, and we have 262 customized classes for business and industry. We're listening to the community. We want to offer what business and industry needs. So we prepare the students for jobs. And did you want to do the next one?
This one's yours, and next one's mine.
Oh, next one. Okay. Workforce development. We have done that already, and we have over here healthcare new programs, EKG certification, mental health first aid, phlebotomy for healthcare workers, restorative assistant in the trades, electrical, HVAC, plumbing. Over 1,000 students enrolled. And so we do have a new masonry program. We are reaching out to business and industry. We want to partner with them. We want to provide trained students for them.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you for being out here tonight. It's so exciting to have people to talk to about the college. I want to add one thing about the previous slide, and that is that, you know, when I go out and talk to the community, one thing I hear people say is college just isn't worth it as much as it used to be. I don't think that's true. I have a degree in English. It's been very much worth it for me. But the thing I want to drive home to you is, you know, when we give someone a certificate to go out and get a job, they go out and get that job, and it's a very useful degree for that person. And that's the kind of thing that CWI is delivering that other institutions in our area aren't delivering, is that technical certificate and those technical degrees that are so important to building the workforce in our state. And it's something that's really satisfying to watch students grab a hold of and find a career that they really care about. And so we were trying to drive home to Idahoans, like, college is about so much more than a 4-year degree in history. Those things are also important. They're useful also, but it's so much more than just that 4-year degree. So we have already talked about accreditation, but we do want to drive home what a big deal this is. There's not a lot of new community colleges happening, right? We're very new, and so the Northwest Accreditation Association, or I'm not saying that right, but you know, NWCCU, they don't go through accreditation very much anymore. So it was a very big deal for us to be able to go in, get approved for this, and it gives us so much more freedom to be able to build programs that our students can access and care about. Does anyone have questions about this? Okay. Next slide. So the strategic plan. This was a lot of work, and we decided to go with a group of people who really dug in and helped us create some vision and some strategy for how we want to move our college forward. And so we're having this new strategic plan start in FY 2018. And the reason why we really needed a new one is because we want to be a college that doesn't just do things the way everyone else does it because that's how they've done it. We want to develop a college that makes sure that we are tailored to our community and we serve what people here need. And we're excited to start implementing this. So we've got 6 objectives: advance student success, promote and invest in the development of quality instruction, initiate connections and partnerships to support economic development and meet community needs here, demonstrate fiscal stability and sustainability. This is very important to us. We can't keep doing this if we don't have enough money and sustainability. Ensure operational sustainability and compliance, and foster a respectful community and be a model for organizational diversity. So we want to reflect the community that we serve in our college. So we're excited about this. Any questions? Can we go back up one? Sorry. Any questions about any of these objectives or how we came up with these or the process of the strategic plan? I'm sure most of you know how that works. They really got to dig into the college and learn a lot about us. Any comments you want to make about that, Mark? You, sir.
Which category does facility development come under?
Great question. I mean, I would say it really came under operational sustainability and compliance, but also somewhat the fiscal stability and sustainability. Would you agree with that? No. Okay. So both of those two.
Having all these leases doesn't make economic sense.
Okay, next slide. Thank you for going back. Funding, this is where we get our money. So as you can see up here, this top one, it's almost 40%. That's really paid by our students, right? So the students are taking on the majority of the, well, not the majority, but most of the burden, if you line it out, to keep the college going and to keep getting their education. And we've got state funds, the county and property taxes, and then self-support grants, and then a little bit of other. So you as a taxpayer contribute this 13%. Thank you very much, nearly 13%. We definitely appreciate that very much. So our rate is $15.95 per $100,000 of taxable property value, and it's the lowest in the state by far. Does anyone who doesn't already work at the college know how much North Idaho College, residents pay or College of Southern Idaho pay to have their community college in their district. All right, North Idaho College is, both of them are over $90 for $100,000 of value. Right, so what we're getting for, about 16 bucks per 100,000 of assessed value is they're getting it for $90. So just keep that in mind. We're getting a great deal, a lot of students to educate, and we're getting a really fantastic community college for the amount of investment that we're putting in. Any questions about this? Okay, great, next slide, no questions. What's next? Does anyone want to add anything at this point? Great. What's next? We need additional classroom and lab space. We cannot educate these kids out in the field, at least not very well, at least especially on a day like this, right? We've got to have places to educate them. And we also need to really address this demand for health science education. We've got new hospitals going up in our community. We know that Idaho is a place where we have a higher rate of elderly population who need more health care, and we know that we have jobs that need to be filled. Go talk to anyone who runs a hospital around here, and they need people. They're scrapping things together by hiring, outside firms to really help them fill those spaces, and it's incredibly expensive for them to be filling in with temps all the time. And so we need to have students have this education. So it's something we need to make happen. What's next? Also, delivery for the workplace. So we're going to continue to tailor our programs to the people who want to stay in this valley and want to be employed here. And then we need to consolidate to create efficiencies in our services. So we need to make sure that where we're delivering and how we're delivering makes sense, and it's saving us money all the way through, so that we're not wasting our students' time by having to drive all over, and also our time by duplicating things. And just need to continue to streamline and provide better.
We had, I think our student body president, she had to drive back and forth throughout the valley to attend her classes, get her classes. So that is our slideshow. I'm just going to say something pretty blunt. You guys haven't heard this, but I talked with staff before the meeting. People keep asking me, when are you going to do the bond again? We don't know. Honestly, we do not know. So when people ask, is it going to be November? Is it going to be May? What are we going to do? We don't know yet. Right now, we're doing this listening to it. We are trying to fine tune our plans. So again, when people ask, we don't know. That's pretty blunt. Oh, sorry. Could you guys hear me?
Can I ask a question? Why do we have you here tonight? We explained what we're doing. And we explained that we're growing and that we're trying to prepare students for business and industry or for transfer into a four-year college and institution. We are paying $2 million per year for rent of buildings in Ada County. And we would rather have that $2 million to put into buildings that are our buildings and not rent, because we feel that's a waste of public money. What we'd like to know from you is, what would you like to see? What if we take a bond back? What kind of buildings do you want? What kind of conditions do you want in terms of the bond vote? More or less buildings, or what should we focus on? So that's questions we want to hear from you.
You can ask anything you want.
John?
My name's John Hecht, H-E-C-H-T. I'm a resident here in Boise. I've been a strong supporter of CWI before it was a gleam in a lot of people's eyes. My applause to the board for this hearing session, and I applaud to the board members for all the work you put in, because more than the other boards around the state, from the State Board of Education, Board of Regents, to the CSI and the NIC boards, you guys got a lot more territory to cover and a lot more weird constituencies that you've got to do. And I think you do it pretty well. Now that I've put on the syrup, I thought the bond issue was terribly premature and poorly handled. You didn't have enough time to sell the program, you didn't have enough time to get a Friends of the Bond Issue Committee together to get out there. I didn't feel that the plan that was presented was anywhere. The reasons for the bond issue, yes, we need permanent facilities, we need permanent campuses. I did not see anything in the plan that I could comfortably vote for, because I didn't think it was a plan. I thought it was pretty drawings for the downtown campus, although I think that's a bad place for a campus, or I think that's an inefficient place to locate a campus. All I saw was pretty drawings. I didn't even see parking. I heard fantasies about, well, there'll be a good transit system and people can bring their bicycles and take the buses and stuff. And this is Idaho, and that's not going to happen. I didn't like the idea of people coming in with the morning rush hour to get onto campus at that weird location. So I hope you'll look at that. You know, the 6 usable acres that the high water has demonstrated that you have now is good. Another pet peeve is the idea of a baseball stadium downtown. I'm serious about this. Look, what would it take to rent or lease that downtown facility that St. Luke's is getting ready to vacate? I'd rather have CWI there. You got parking already, which I didn't see any parking at the downtown campus. There was nothing on the plan. There was nothing on the abbreviated information sheets about how where the students were coming in, what they were going to do. My druthers is to have the Ada campus move out toward Meridian, out to one of the exits. I think, I haven't seen, I asked then, and I haven't heard a response, a scatter plot or a zip code where your students are coming from.
Can I just address a few things, and
Sure.
then we can come back. So you know, we don't want students to show up and have a place to park either, right? Like, we want students to park. So there is a plan for parking at the Ada County place. I'm happy to go over and show it to you, and we can talk about how it would work. There's different phases. So we totally hear that concern. We're not going to let students show up and just not have a place to park. So, you know, that we hear you. If you're concerned about that, we want it to be addressed too, and it will be, and it has been. And then, you know, with 53% of our students being from Ada County, we need a facility here for them to learn at. So we've established that. That's what we need. And then we have done some other work where we've demonstrated where people are coming from and where they live in the valley, where they would have to travel to. So, you know, we're also, again...
That was never publicly available.
Okay. I mean, we've had some public meetings and had some maps that we can do more. We're happy to always demonstrate
I
it.
inquired about it, and someone
Okay.
told me that was the dedication of the groundbreaking. Oh, no, that doesn't exist.
I mean, I'm thinking of what I've seen.
All right.
Okay. I mean, we definitely want to show it to you.
That's great feedback.
So if
Yeah.
I can elaborate a little bit on that, it kind of went in, I mean, obviously I'm a fan, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But I think what he's getting at is that the bond was out there, and it's a lot of money. But I think a lot of people felt like, well, what are you going to do with this, and what are we going to get out of this? So that was it went the same way as the light rail system back in, like, I think it was 2008. The mayor just showed up to the town hall and was like, "This is what we're going to do," and everyone was like, "Well, what about our input?" So I think that was kind of the general consensus from what I've heard, but I voted for it. So
That's we want to hear that exact comment and your comments too. We want to hear that. We need to. I mean, we have to know what you guys think, and we have to know how you want to move forward. And if there's information you haven't received or haven't been provided, then let's find it, right? I mean, let's make sure that those questions are addressed. You want to add anything, Stan?
Yes, I agree with you, John, that we put this together and we had a person who was going to work for the community, not the college, but the community, and put together a campaign. And that person backed out of it about a month prior to the campaign.
Ouch.
And so, you know, we kind of left this high and dry. And that person was supposed to be working with members of the community to get contributions and have a task force of citizens that would go out and campaign for the bond. That didn't happen. And so we just felt really badly about that. Once we launched it, you can't take it off the ballot. And so we just went through with it. And that's why we're here now, trying to get a sense of what the community would like and maybe some a focus on what would make the bond successful.
And I mean, that's exactly the right thing, because everybody knows that universities, campuses period, are good for a city. It attracts attention, you get outside influence, you get outside investment, so that's the right way of doing it for sure. And I mean, I think everybody wants to see it, it's just they want to know a little bit more about it.
Stan, can I jump in here for a second? Let me ask a question back. That's all right. I'm going to pretend you're all my teenage kids. I'm going to yell really loud. Let me ask a question back to you. What industries do you see from wherever you sit, whether you're retired, whether you're working in an industry, when you're reading Bill's paper every morning before you head to work, what are the industries that you see that are growing and that probably need attention? Forget everything that you've seen here. Is there an industry that you say, yeah, we need to be paying attention to that? Any thoughts?
Artificial intelligence.
AI, so in technology, high tech. AI is a big one.
And then the healthcare was already mentioned.
I don't want to guess an average age, but I know what I am, and I know I'm falling apart. Healthcare is a big issue in my family. And the fact is, the crew that takes care of us in Idaho is part of the baby boomer silver tsunami that is retiring. Right? What's the average age of a doctor here in Idaho? Is it 60? A little over 60? I mean, they're retiring. Right? They're done. We're not replacing them at the same rate. We're not replacing all the staff that go with them, the support staff. I lived the last 5 years up north in Coeur d'Alene. Kootenai Medical Center is a booming industry up there. The CEO of Kootenai told me in August of last year, he said, I have 630 job openings. Only 150 of those require any knowledge of biology. Everything else is tech, it's customer support, it's medical records, it's HVAC, it's keeping up with the facilities. When you start talking at a 200, 300, 400 bed hospital, the sheer logistics of just moving people in and out become huge. And these are careers in healthcare. So those are some other industries. Any other ideas? Bob, you're very quiet tonight. I'm a little worried.
Well, I didn't come with the intent of saying anything, but I did want to comment on something that Trustee Walton mentioned in comparing the amount that we pay here versus North Idaho. So as much to educate me as to, I guess, ask the question, but the relative value of Ada and Canyon County compared to that district in North Idaho, I don't know what it is, but if we have greater value here, we would naturally pay less per 100,000. So comparison is only valid, I think, if you're comparing different districts of similar attributes. And I hear that quite a bit with legislative things. I hear it in city council meetings and district taxing district meetings. Sometimes comparisons are not entirely valid. So am I thinking correctly about this regarding the very different values?
You are correct in the fact that if we had their tax rate, we wouldn't need state dollars, we wouldn't need tuition, we could just fund the whole community college with that tax. But we don't have that. What we did is when we originally decided to go out to the voters, we did a poll and found out how much the voters would support. And when we found that out, we tagged the election publications to that fact. So now we have a promise to the voters that your tax commitment is not going to be really very high. I think myself that was a strategic mistake. I think we should have made that larger to begin with, but we didn't. So now we are in a situation where we're kind of at a conundrum of what to do next. We would like the voters to approve a bonds to build some buildings. And those buildings would be about, maybe, I can't remember what it was in this past election, $12 per 100,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so it wouldn't be a whole lot of money. I think my mosquito abatement district requires more than that.
Hey, Bob, I
Yeah.
want you to know, I'm one of the original trustees. And when the campaign for CWI, the campaign committee committed that it'd be about $13 for every 100,000. So, yeah, we could have not kept that promise, but we didn't. We adhered to what we said during the campaign. So yeah, it is, and I know it is apples to oranges with CSI and North Idaho College, but I also want you to know when we talk to legislators and they say you need to just raise your levy rate. So we're kind of stuck in this little dilemma, who's going to pay for the buildings, and that's why we're doing these listening sessions to get some ideas.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think I wanted to close that paragraph off with, and so we should all pay 90. I'm not saying that, right? Like, I pay taxes too. But I would also point out, we still do have a community college here, right? Like, we still have one, they have one, they're paying a lot more. I understand the idea behind the property value, and we don't need to do that necessarily, but we need to be sustainable. We've got these 24,000 students. We don't own that many buildings. We have to figure out how to be sustainable going forward, and it's not going to be renting. And so that's what we're really trying to figure out.
Right. If I understand correctly, the value, the value that you have in your budget compared to North Idaho's, I don't know what the comparison is, but you have more households to draw from to create your
Yes.
budget than they do. Am I not correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So naturally, they would have more assessment per household to get to their budget.
I think maybe I can give a little.
Okay. And now shut.
Yeah. So North Idaho College serves, if you factor in workforce, dual credit, all the things that we have on the slide up there, they're smaller than by half. Okay, they're serving somewhere around 13,000 students annually. Their full-time equivalent enrollment's about 3,800. Now I can tell you that last year, because I was part of the team that put the budget together, it was over $48 million. So by comparison, we operate on about $60 million budget. So one other point, as long as we're comparing the apple and the orange, both delicious fruits. North Idaho College was established in 1933. It's been a community college since then, so there's 84 years of history with various increases in levies that have gone on over that 84-year history, period, time period. Not doing by Montana Public Education. Very well, I know. We've been in existence since 2007. We started collecting property taxes in 2008 or 9. So, trustees here have been very judicious trying to make those monies stretch. We're at a point now where we have some real significant needs, and that was the purpose of the slideshow, was to say, okay, here's what we've done. This is what we see we need to do to meet these industry demands. Give us some ideas. Help us stretch that soup a little further, because we know, because just as Trustee Walton, we're all taxpayers, right? I looked at my property tax bill when I closed on my home a month ago and went, yeah, I'm paying more for my mosquito abatement district in Meridian than I am for College of Western Idaho. So, now, I'll be happy about that when I don't do this all summer long, but I'd also want my kids to be able to do this, right, at an affordable rate, and not have that big debt over top.
I'd like to ask those out in the audience here, any further questions or comments? I think John had his hand up.
What is the capacity in the student fees now? What dollar amount per unit, or however you want to present it, are the students paying for facilities, whether it's a rental or buying?
0.
And do you have the authority to, I've fought student fees for years, so I don't want this, but I'm just curious. Do you have the authority to charge students facility fees toward the buildings?
Yes, we do, in a sense. what do we call that?
So the provision is under the state code is to do an entirely student-paid building, such as a student union building, health and recreation center, something along those lines, would go through what they call a dormitory housing commission. So the governor would appoint 3 people to be that independent commission. So
And we've done that.
So
We do have 3 people, we have a
the
commission.
trustees would have to approve an idea, forward it to the dormitory housing commission, who would then give the okay to issue the bonds based on what the fee would collect. So right now, a student pays $139 in tuition and fees to attend the College of Western Idaho. $100 of that is tuition. The other $39 are various fees. So
Per credit.
per credit. So technology fees, the various fees that go along with it. There is not currently a building fee that's in there. That is one of the options. Now, what I'd love to hear from you as parents and taxpayers is, okay, one of the buildings that was in the original bond plan was a student success center. And I heard it. I was here 30 days before the bond and voted yes. But even I looked at the church and said, okay, what's the student success center? Are we going to be in that? What's going to happen? And the first thing the president told me is there's no bowling alleys, right? There's none of the fluff. This is advising. This is,
Study area.
study areas,
Library.
a library, which we need for accreditation. Our library is in the first floor of a leased building out in Nampa right now. Our students don't have great access if they have to come to Nampa to get to the library. Now, yes, there's loading, things of that. So, could we do a student union center and put some of those things in there? Yes. What would the bond fee for that building be to the students? Is it $25? Is it $50? Is it $80? Well, that goes and that adds to their total cost of attendance. That's an option. You can have a student paid building. That's one of the options you can do.
Our philosophy is, other board members here can correct me if I misspeak, but we want to keep the tuition low. We are an open access institution, meaning anyone who is a citizen, who is not a citizen, doesn't matter. Person in the community can come and apply to be a student at the College of Western Idaho. What that means is some students who don't have the grade point average, some students who are high school dropouts, some students who failed in the first couple of years of college, they can come to CWI. And a lot of those students had trouble, not because they weren't smart, but because they came from a home that was split. They had economic issues that they had to deal with early on in their life. And so what we want to do is make the community college available so that more students can get an education.
One of the whole reasons to have a community college is to be affordable. I mean, to compare Boise State to CWI, a lot of our students cannot afford Boise State. They can't go to NMU. They can't go to the College of Idaho. So that is the whole reason to have a community college. I mean, there's taxpayer support, there's some state support, but student fees and tuition, that is key. But we've always tried to keep student fees and tuition low because a lot of our students can't afford. Sometimes, I mean, we've had students that were living in their cars. So, I mean, we're trying to, it's a dilemma for us to keep student fees reasonable and keep them affordable.
If I might just add one. The first graduation that CWI had, we found out that over 280 students didn't walk for graduation that were qualified to walk because they could not afford the $25 cap and gown fee. Now, we've since gone to the foundation and figured out a way to handle that. So $25 sitting in this room may not really jolt anybody, but we have a significant number of students that $25 is a lot of money. And they decided they couldn't walk at graduation because they couldn't afford the $25 fee to get a cap and gown. So we're dealing with a population of students that wouldn't qualify to go to BSU or NMU or any of the others that we're now getting off tax dole and getting them back on payroll somewhere.
I want to raise the question. Oh, Paul, did you want to?
Well, I would go back, so when the bond was voted for to start the college, you said you polled and found out how much taxpayers felt they could afford.
Correct.
And you said, okay, you said it was like $13 per 100,000 or something. And then now you had made a promise that you would not raise that. Is that correct, or something like that?
Well, the initial campaign, we promised the voters that it would be $13 per 100. But because of state law, we can raise the budget by 3% plus, new construction.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't a promise made that it wouldn't be, you wouldn't ask them for more or anything like that?
I can answer that, because I came on the, it's been, I came on the board after 2 years. And we were gonna have our first actual class in 2009. And as the Board of Trustees at that time, we had the opportunity to set the rate for the first time by a vote.
Oh, okay.
And we discussed that, and the vote was to keep it at the 13.5. Once you set it like that, you can only raise it by 3% without going to a vote of the public.
Oh, okay.
And so now we're stuck at, we can go up 3% a year, but guess
But
what?
when we then tried to do the 180 million, that's raising it more than 3%.
That is.
And that's why it requires a vote.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to get that clarified. Thank you.
I'll just add that I'm Guy Hurlbut. I'm one of the founding trustees, and also I was involved in the college before it became a college. I was a co-finance chair in the campaign to start the college, and we, as was correctly pointed out, decided that we couldn't really go beyond $13 and be able to pass that initiative. So we had campaign literature that said $13 more or less. That's as high as it's going to go. Well, there were only 2 of those people who were on the campaign that ended up on the Board of Trustees, myself and Marion Island. The other trustees weren't bound by anything, and legally we weren't bound by anything either. And in fact, our president at the time, Dennis Griffin, our first president, recommended that we pay over we approve over $20, 100,000. Well, we debated that, and the conclusion was that it would be perceived correctly, I think, as a bait and switch. That we promised the public it wouldn't be over 13, and here we are going over 13 after it's too late. We've already voted. In retrospect, it was a shame that we made that representation going into it, but we did, and we decided to live by it.
I want to get back to the question of how do we get where we need to be? So we know we need a health science facility. We're doing as much as we possibly can online, and we're increasing that capacity all the time. But those online classes have to originate somewhere. So if you understand online instruction, there is someone somewhere originating that class. There are some things, I don't know about you, but the next person who goes and draws my blood when I get checked for my A1C for type 2, I don't want them learning online. I want them to have had practical, hands-on, clinical in an actual facility. All right? I'm just weird like that.
So your
Go ahead.
point to that then is, what are you doing with St. Luke's, St. Al's, West Valley right now?
Great
Because
question.
I'm not sure I see any information coming from you all or from them.
Oh, you want me to take this?
On what you're doing. So in partnership with them.
Boss said he punted this way. So there's a lot going on. All right. So talks with all of major employers. So Luke's, Al's, Norco, all West Valley, all the folks that are involved in those industries. We're having very active conversations. They want to help us. They understand that it's in their best interest to help us because we're going to supply their skilled workforce. there was a gentleman that a couple of folks in the room might remember by the name of Mark Cotner. Cotner did a lot of really incredible work out in Hawaii County and the southern end of Canyon County with high schools and getting kids in line. But he had a saying, and I love it, so I always want to give him credit for it. Our job in education is to teach people how to feed themselves. That's our job. When you boil it down to it, it's about giving them an opportunity so that they can go and provide for themselves and their families and make it better.
I've got a question.
Oh, I was just going to say, Luke's, Al's, West Valley, they understand it. They're providing those opportunities. They know we're the conduit, right? They're the conduit between the students who are coming through and their skilled workforce so that they can get a bigger share of the market. It's a business deal. So we're in active talks with them, whether it's partnership, whether it's donation, whether there's all types of possibilities. And that's been one of the really positive things that's actually come out post-November, is that we've had a number of businesses and people in the community that are saying, we want to help. Let's talk, let's figure something out. So I think that's a real positive.
I've got a question for you, and basically it came to us through Bob Van Arden, who's back here. He came to the board this morning and asked a question. And the question is, well, why don't you have St. Luke's and St. Al's make major donations to the health science building? And the question is, can we get them to do that? As citizens, would you be more willing to vote for something if you saw the major industries putting up some money? Would that make a difference?
That improved the general mood.
So you think that would
Well, because
gather more
there's
support
a
in the community?
validity in it, because it's getting them good labor, but on the other hand, they're just expanding their footprint for the non-taxable properties. I mean, you're taking over Park Center.
Yeah.
Well, that's, what, 30, 40, 50 million dollars is being taken off the tax rolls. So having them let's see, they don't make a profit, a revenue above expenses, I guess. Some of that balance going into higher ed would be very appropriate, and I think would get a general happy feel for a lot of the other voters.
So the voters would generally say, hey, we got some businesses and industry making contributions. If we vote for it, we won't pay as high a tax rate, and we'll have business and industry supporting some of the facilities that actually are there for them.
Stan, let me ask a follow-up to that. So in that same vein, what would your thoughts or feelings be on the state contributing? Understanding where the state revenue picture is and all the demands, what are your feelings on the state contributing, maybe not paying fully, but contributing towards a health science facility?
It's interesting because historically the community college districts were to be minimal state. I was surprised at how large a percentage. I couldn't see the small print of what the money from the state was coming from here. Probably getting old, but that's a very high percentage. That gets close, if you will, to what the state is actually putting into the universities.
In at least one of their cases. Boise State's about 20%, a little under 20% state funded. Lewis Clark State, University of Idaho, a little higher, ISU a little bit higher. And also it includes $200,000 from the liquor fund, which hasn't changed since 1982.
That was one of the small
And
prints.
the career technical appropriation, which comes through. But my question is, all right, it gets back to what we were talking about. We're all taxpayers, right? So whether it's coming through the state or it's coming through our property tax, which way do we prefer? Is there any
Well, I
kind
guess
of...
we would, as taxpayers, want to understand, is it coming out of the general fund, or am I gonna have a specific tax I'm gonna pay to fund your health science building? And would you all, when you did your bond next, or if you do the bond next, are you gonna come out to your stakeholders and say, we had 175 million last time, but now St. Al's or Luke's is going to kick in this much, so we're lowering the bond, or the state's going to kick in this much, and it's going to lower the bond. You know, if you educate us on where those funds are coming from, I think I'd be more apt to vote in favor, knowing knowing where all the money's coming from and what, you know, and where it's actually going, as was mentioned earlier, on what's going to be in the Boise campus.
And again, we have these ongoing discussions right now. So, you know, the bond failed. We had 58%. And it has to be a super majority. And again, I guess our campaign was handicapped because we lost a campaign manager. And we didn't have any money for ads and things like that. But the good news is, I think we are starting to rethink the scope of the bond. I do think, and I want to ask you guys, you know, we were looking for funding for the Boise campus. And again, I want you to know something also. We looked throughout Ada County for property. So for 3 years, this wasn't done out of the blue, like, oh, we're just going to buy Bob Rice. We had a lot of consideration. But we have the health sciences building, and the bond was going to include the health sciences building, a building in Boise, and plus the Student Success Center. So those were the three, and there was another ancillary building. So if you guys had to choose, if we had to build one building, what do you think we should build?
You can't just build one.
What's that?
I said you can't just build one. You got to build a bunch. You got to make a statement. I mean, I know it's not free, and I know it's difficult to do. But that's, you know, it's got to be tangible. It's got to be attractive. It's got to be all the things that we know it needs to be. So if I had to throw something at it, I would probably say, you know, health science. I mean, it's usually the cornerstone of every university. It's the health science. Maybe a business admin building, something along those lines.
How about a high tech?
Well, and that was going to be my next thing. Is that, I mean, it depends exactly on. Sorry, I can speak louder. It's fine. I would say those two, but then a tech building, because those of us that came up through the trades, it's important because we still need tradesmen and tradespeople, excuse me. So that would be a good thing too. Can never go wrong with the trades.
I'm thinking that a company like Clearwater Analytics, those individuals are programmers and very knowledgeable in a very technical area. And there's a lot of people who are being demanded in that industry. And I'm thinking that the Boise campus ought to be focused more on the high-tech side of things.
Can never go wrong with tech.
Other thoughts and questions? We got a few minutes before.
Have you asked
guys
the
have a lot of
students?
cookies.
Have you asked the students what they would build? Did you survey them as part of that? And was there a survey results that you would share as part of the next campaign? Or
That's a great question.
Great idea.
We'll talk about it.
because if there's not enough high-tech students, but there's a plethora of health science, I think it'd be easier to sell health science to the taxpayers if they knew that's what the base was.
One of the things that came out of the student survey doesn't sell well, and that was the student center. A place where they can meet, they can congeal, they can come together, they'd have food service operations, they'd have the library resource center and all those kinds of things. And we grappled with what to call that building, because it was going to be the iconic building. I mean, it would be a key. What the students want may not sell in the community, quite frankly, because we made a very clear statement about there's any bowling alleys, there's no pool tables. If you're going to do a student center or a student success center, it's going to have these kinds of things in it. And the student said, yeah, we need those things too. We need a place. We're a commuter campus. CWI is a commuter campus. Students come, they go to school, and they go home. And the other two campuses in Idaho, NIC and CSI, have student housing. They have athletic programs. They have, I mean, they're communities. And one of the things that we heard from our students was we didn't have the feel of community to it. So that's one of the things you struggle from a student perspective as opposed to a community perspective.
And I'll say, and I went out and talked to a lot of students in a lot of classrooms, and so this isn't necessarily scientifically gathered data, but the anecdotes and the things I heard from students was just that they didn't feel like they had a place to call their school, right? They pull up in their car, they walk in, they take a class, they leave. And sure, there are students who can do that fine and they get out of the process and they're fine, but there are other students, and I was one of these at Boise State, who I excelled because I engaged in extracurricular activities, and I ended up staying in Idaho because I engaged in those activities, and those activities made it so I was much more employable. And so, some people might say, well, we don't need any of that, we don't need any of those community things because it's just come in and take your class and leave, and yet those extra things make someone stay here, they retain someone in school, they help people to be better employed, and those things are incredibly important to building the economy in Idaho.
So, again, we do have student surveys, and maybe we should ask different questions. So that's a great idea. I also want you I said that we have 8,000 students attending in Ada County with several leased buildings, Maple Grove and Overland. We have just like concession stands. We just have like we don't have food service. So a lot of our students, 8,000 students, have no opportunity to really connect because there's no food service. So that's part of the thought of having an Ada County presence. First of all, get rid of the leases and have a more like a campus environment or a center.
I have a question, and my question is, what would get you involved? If we need citizen involvement, what would attract you so that you would go out and maybe campaign a little bit, hand out leaflets, donate some money? What would get you involved? Or would you be involved?
I'm kind of involved right now, being here, so I think that's the first thing. But I think a clearer plan, kind of like what the gentleman back there was saying, a clearer plan with more of like a roadmap. That way people could kind of get behind it and say, hey, throw in a day here, a day there, whatever, to volunteer. Because it's important. I mean, higher ed's important. We all need it. Our towns need it. Hopefully it's not a brain drain where they're taking it to Seattle after they leave, so it's always an uphill battle.
I think that's a really good point. The term brain drain, that they leave the area, because right now Idaho is that's what's happening. We have great institutions here, whether it's 3 community colleges, technical college over in Idaho Falls, or 3, you say technical college, not good?
No, I'm shaking my head at your premise without seeing.
Okay, well, let me get it all the way.
Yeah.
So I might bring you around. It might take me a minute. We did kick on the AC, so I'm feeling fine. So, we have great institutions. Can we get better? Absolutely. But here's what's happening. We're having difficulty attracting and keeping industries that provide the opportunities for our students when they're done. Bob Lockin's a prime example of Clearwater Analytics. He started a company here. He sold it to Microsoft. Part of the deal was with Microsoft is, I'm going to keep this company in Boise, and they said, we'll give you 2 years. He tried everything to hire enough programmers, engineers to work that company here, and he ended up bringing them all in from outside. We couldn't supply it. We weren't geared up and ready for it. We didn't have the right, we didn't have enough capacity, right? Well, what happened? As soon as that 2 years was up, Microsoft took it back over to the west side. We'll be in the same danger with other industries, whether it's high tech, whether it's medical, whatever it might be. Look at where we're at geographically. Inland Northwest, right? 6 hours to Portland, 8 hours to Seattle, depending on how you drive, 5 hours to Salt Lake City, right? Major cities with major access to healthcare and tech. We're in a perfect position because those are distances that are hard enough to conquer, that there's economic viability for a company to be if they have the workers to supply what they need. And that's, I don't know if I'm getting you yet. Am I getting there? Give me a little more. Give me a little more line.
Halfway.
All right. I'm not a very good fisherman, but I'm giving you a little more line. All right. Higher ed is an economic development drive, but we've got to be smart about it. and it's a mix of everything. But we're in danger of losing good companies. They'll downsize and they'll leave because in a global economy they can't. I sat in a meeting this afternoon with some folks, and we were talking about education. In the education industry, this person will work from Boise State starting next week, living in Cottonwood, Idaho. Now I know John knows where it's at. I've been through there. It's a beautiful country. How do you commute from Cottonwood, Idaho? You don't. Their job is terminal based. They've got a computer terminal in front of them. They'll work. They'll come to Boise every day a week. Well, all industries will continue to outsource unless we can get them the people that they need. We've seen it. So this is our charge. We've got to be able to deliver those folks who have the trained skills so that they can go to work in an environment where it's not oppressive for them to live because of tax burden, crime, air quality, water quality, all the things that we're looking for, the reasons that we live here, right? Are you coming around, John? Can I set that hook yet? Not quite?
Well,
Maybe.
you see, I agree with you, except for the 50 years that I'm familiar with, there's been very few post-college entry-level positions available in any of the industries in Idaho.
You're absolutely right.
So you gotta go outside. One, you want to get away from the small town. Gee, I'm going to go to San Francisco. Gee, I'm going to go to New York. Gee, I'm going to go to Hollywood, Seattle, whatever. Then after a while, one, they develop the skills. Two, they're going, you know what, Thomas Wolfe was wrong. You can go home again, and you come back and you find out that this is really a pretty good place. An hour's drive in Seattle gets you from the north side maybe down to Pioneer Square. An hour's drive from Boise gets you into Idaho. So,
and you're right.
no matter what we do, we're never going to be able to produce those people. I want to keep them interested. I want to draw them in, but we're going to set the tone that the kids will go away, get more skills elsewhere. And I think that's healthy. I think it makes it better for the employer that they know what it's like out there. And they come back here and they're a lot more gratified. They'll take the pay scales, they'll take the cost of living, and the advantages that we can offer the quality of what we call the quality of life here. But
I think you've got a good point in that traditionally speaking, there haven't been professional grade entry-level positions, as many as are needed. But if we're working with those businesses and industries, providing them what they need, those positions come because their businesses are growing. Right? One hand helps take care of the other. And I agree, there's a certain amount of value in getting your butt off the farm and leaving and then coming back. You do appreciate it. But I also subscribe to that belief that we're in a different time and age now, and that we can learn those things here too as well. Because I can tell you, you can have a go-to-college experience 5 miles away from home. You don't have to tactically leave the area. You leave the out of the house. I'm sorry, I just stepped right in front of me. I didn't mean to.
No.
I'm trying to get steps.
No, I think we're almost out of time.
Yes, we are. We're within a couple minutes, so if you guys just want to do a little wrap up, and then we'll have these guys eat a bunch of cookies on their way out.
I really appreciate you all coming. It's very valuable for the board. And this isn't the end. We really want your input. You can, what's that?
This is the beginning.
Yeah, it's the beginning. So you guys can, do we have a way for people to comment?
Yes, we do. Zach, give me the name of the email again.
We have several ways people can continue to comment with us and engage in the conversation. Listening tour at cwidaho.cc. That will send an email. We also have each one of these future sessions will be Facebook Live, so you'll have an opportunity to comment on those and listen and engage in those ones. Then we will also have an online forum that you can access through CWIDifference.com. So anytime if you have a thought in the middle of the night, you can post a comment there and we can get back to it and provide an answer to it. So we've got several methods, and we're really looking for everybody's input in any way that they feel that they can give it to us.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. It was very useful for us, and thank you.
Cookies, please.
Cookies back there.
Cookies.